Hi, Peg. So we are talking about clarity today, and we
Right.
are a women's leadership development company. So what is it that we are really talking about when we address clarity in the context of leadership?
Yeah, in the very simplest terms, for me, clarity is about being clear about what we want and the desired outcome, the outcome that we're going for.
Yeah,
Inside of leadership, part of what happens is that clarity is needed for everybody, no matter who you are. And this time of year is when clarity seems to really rise in importance because we are doing goal setting. We are sorting out what's the vision for the year, and we are trying to move whatever we're doing forward. And that really calls for clarity. And so in leadership, part of our responsibility is ensuring that we as leaders and our teams all have clarity about what's important for the team, what it is that we're trying to achieve, the vision that we're going for, so that throughout the course of the year, we're all on track. I always say you have your paddles in the water and you're all rowing the same direction. So clarity is just a vehicle for helping to ensure that we have that clarity about our goals, our outcomes, and our vision.
yeah, right. Yes. On the receiving end, we love to have that clarity from our leaders, right? So
Yes.
it
Yes.
can mirror that back and see for ourselves that this is what we want to give and provide for the ones whom we are leading. Yes, and the immediate reference is towards like a clear goal, visions, actions, all of that. We also want the clarity of we want to be able to believe the
Yes.
leaders, right? We are following.
Right.
We want people to follow us. So there's also an inner and outer component to clarity.
Yeah.
You can be clear on the outside, also clear on the inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you touch on that, it reminds me of a conversation we've had about, what's the role of the heart in creating clarity? What's the role of the brain in creating clarity? Because I think of the brain as being where a lot of the how are we going to do it, what are we going to do, the specifics reside, but the heart is that space of inspiration. So you want to speak a little bit more to that, Franciska?
Yeah, it's so interesting. We have such a strong mind, and the
Mhm.
mind has a strong role, and the role it takes on is to look at all perspectives possible. So
Right.
it's the job of the mind to look in all directions, and then how are you going to make a choice? How are you going to decide? Because there
Right.
will be good arguments for many different aspects. And yeah, the interesting thing about the heart, because we want to feel good about a choice
Right.
eventually, and then we feel clear. We often talk about feeling clear, and that's actually not happening in the mind; it's happening in the heart.
Yeah.
The interesting part about the heart is that it is a singular organ, and
Hmm.
it's I don't know if it's its job. It's the nature of the heart to integrate, so you can feel really clear,
Yes.
and your mind can go different places, and that's also interesting because then what do you do? You want them to all play together, heart and mind.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
come to a
Yeah.
certain clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think often then, people get into that mode. We've talked about this as well about striving for clarity. Like, oh, I
yeah,
must be clear. Like that's an imperative. Especially as a leader, you can feel that responsibility. As you said, we want leaders who are clear and we want to know that we're following leaders who have a clear idea of where we're going and they're helping us to get there. And
yeah,
yet there are times when clarity isn't essential. It's okay to be unclear, to be sort of in the stew of trying to sort something out and in my mind, becoming more curious about it. Like, I don't know, I'm not in a place to be clear yet. I don't have the clarity that I need. And so, where can I be curious and find out, a little bit more about either how I feel or what I want,
yeah.
or anything more that will help to inform the clarity so that I'm striving for clarity at a point that actually is going to be useful and helpful.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that I have really had to learn myself.
Mhm.
At the stage of my life where I'm thinking, well, if I'm not clear, there's something wrong. I'm missing something. I
Yeah.
have to figure it out. I have to figure it out by myself. So
guilty.
Yeah. So I'm drawn into this space of I'm guilty. That's a terrible place to put, and also not very helpful to gain.
Right.
So I'm really happy with having learned that not being clear is okay, and it's just like you're not clear in the moment, and then you can be curious, huh? You can be curious.
Right.
Accept the confusion, because in the confusion there's also a lot of information in there. So you may need to create the time then to let clarity come to you, and then other things happening like I don't have the time, that sort of things. But it's important. I feel it's important to understand that there's nothing wrong with not being clear in the moment. And that it is wonderful to have that clarity, because it's a wonderful feeling. And
absolutely.
It's good for self and also for others as well.
Absolutely. Well, we hope that today we have, actually through this little conversation encouraged you to consider for yourself, what's the role of clarity in your decision making? What's the role of clarity in moving through life? And how are you going to go about doing that? So we talked about clarity, being clear about what you want and the desired outcomes, how important it is as leaders that people are counting on us for a certain amount of clarity, that we need to be tapping into both our head and our heart, our brain and our heart. And when we're really zeroing in on clarity and figuring out what is clear for this particular situation, and giving ourselves full permission that we don't have to be clear all the time, that it's okay to have moments of unclarity, accept where we are in that moment, be curious, and then see what emerges out of that inquiry. So clarity is the topic for the month. We encourage all of you to just be in that thought about, what does clarity mean for me, and how would I go about being more clear where it's important for me to be more clear, and be okay with being unclear when it doesn't really have as much of an impact. So thank you very much for joining us. We do these conversations throughout the year and post them. We hope that they're helpful to you as part of Tiara. If you're interested in learning more, go to www.tiaraleadership.com and find out a little bit more. We welcome you to our community. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Peg.